time for Marilyn's Cafe Society radio show on YouTube. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Marilyn's Cafe Society radio show on YouTube. Today is Saturday, the 25th day of 2020, 25th day of January in the year 2020, I should say. The month is getting away from us, isn't it? Whew. So, how are you? I'm your host, Marilyn, as you all know, and of course, happy to be here with you. Rushed home from the day job just to be here to put this show together for you quickly. Um, it's going to be average time as we've been doing in the last few weeks, maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, but I just had to come to you. So, welcome to Maryland's Cafe Society on YouTube. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and get right into some on this day in history. It's very interesting. On this day in history in 1933, a new rate of 35 cents per hour was implemented. Now, um, the report says that state emergency work relief bureaus across the country began to cut the hourly rate for laborers from 40 cents per hour to 35 cents per hour, and they implemented a 5-day work week. hmm So that's interesting. I gotta call you back. Call you back, darling. All right, and so I thought that that was interesting. So workers went from earning $19 per hour, or I should say per week, to $14 per week. And this was all because of the changing economic trends that was happening throughout the country. And they also wanted to provide more work opportunities for the unemployed. And it was all due to the Great Depression. Remember, I said the year 1933, so the country was in the Great Depression. Of course, the president at the time was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who instituted the New Deal that consisted of relief, reform, and recovery programs, and that was one of them. And according to the United States Department of Labor, by 1933, the minimum pay had fallen to, I'm sorry, by 1938, the minimum pay per hour had dropped to 25 cents. And as we all know, it has slowly been on the rise ever since. Although some places now are, or I should say, some workers are enjoying a minimum pay of $15 per hour in a few places across the country. But it's slow but sure, right? Slow but sure. So this next on this day in history should appeal to broadcasters and specifically those in radio broadcasting. Of course, reminding you of the days of old and just how much times have changed or not. So, on this day in history back in 1960, there was a big payola scandal. Yes, the National Association of Broadcasters dealt with numerous payola scandals by amending the Federal Communications Act to make sure that pay for play deals be disclosed on the air, and by fining as much as $10,000 and, of course, 1 year in prison any disc jockeys who accepted money for playing particular records. That's right, and some 335 radio DJs were involved in this scandal. My camera just moved on me. I tell you, it's always something. Um, but two of these disc jockeys you may know. One is by the name of Alan Freed, and one is by the name of Dick Clark. The infamous Dick Clark, or I should say the famous Dick Clark and the infamous Alan Freed. But anyway, read up on it. It's very interesting. Now, for those outside of the industry of radio broadcasting specifically, a payola is a bribe paid to disc jockeys to play specific songs to increase music sales without informing the public that the airtime was paid for. And it was really big back in the 50s and 60s. And from what I understand now, you know, record labels and promoters and the radio business, they have created a way to kind of sort of make payola legal now, so it still happens. All right, do you think that's, I don't think that's shady, right? Because if you cut a record, you want to let people know you cut the record, right? And I know back in the heyday of music, they depended on local disc jockeys and clubs and parties and things of that nature too to get the music out to the public as they do now. But how, the radio was the big means of communications in the 50s and 60s, how to reach masses of people. So how else were people supposed to know about the music? But anyway, I digress. All right, so let's get into some cafe news. Cafe news, I thought this one was interesting. You might also. I read that Walmart is now in the meat packing business. They recently opened a plant in Thomasville, Georgia, in an effort to gain the upper hand on the country's top meat processors, I guess because of the cost of getting meat to their customers. And so they're in the game now. That was the first. We'll see how big this gets for them. They've also entered the milk supply chain. They opened a new milk processing plant in Indiana to supply milk to some 500 stores, and that too was in response to the rising costs of supplying milk to its customers. So Walmart is on the move. We'll see how they continue to do this, but I think it's all just to kind of have some leverage as they deal with the top suppliers, processors, to say, look, we can do this on our own, so maybe you need to cut us better deals, right? So we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned. Let's take a look at the stock market at the close of the market on yesterday, Friday, January 24th, 2020. The Dow was down 170.36 points to 28,989.73. The NASDAQ also dropped a negative 87.57 to 9,314.91. And the S&P 500 dropped a negative 30.07 points to 3,295.47. They're thinking that this is all due to that virus, the big virus that comes from China. What is it called? I've heard people pronounce it all kind of different ways, but it's the corona virus. Coronavirus. Yeah, it's affecting the stock market. Well, here's a few stocks that it did not affect. Intel Corp is up $5.15 to $68.47. The American Express Company is up $3.74 to $135.11. Stocks that did not do so good is Harsco Corp. They were down $3.64 to $15.80, and American Airlines was down $1.16 to $27.64. And of course, this is all, well, with the airlines, it's all due to that virus from China. Gold was up $6.50 to 1,571.10 per ounce. And oil was down $1.40 to $54.19. Yeah, so that's just a quick brief look at what happens in the stock market on the close of business Friday. No cafe talk unless you just want to chime in on the payola thing. There, it's still happening today, but it's not as scandalous and illegal as it was in the 50s and 60s. So, do you think it's wrong or right or just, I don't know, immoral for record labels and promoters to promote the music by paying for play? It's called pay for play. And that's how you get the music out to the masses and determine whether or not the record is going to survive or if sales are going to increase and so forth. I'd love to hear what you think about that. I think, you got to do what you got to do to get the music out there to the people so that they know it exists, right? All right. And then you might want to chime in on this entertainment news item as well. First, I'll just talk about it. The 62nd annual Grammy Award show is set to air Sunday, January 26th. That's tomorrow. Um, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central on CBS, Channel 2 here locally. And here's what you need to know. The host is going to be Alicia Keys for the second time in a row. Remember, she hosted for the very first time last year, so she's back on deck. And the nominees include Lizzo, who leads with 8 nominations, followed by Little Nas X and Billie Eilish, who both have 6 nominations. Her, Ariana Grande, and Phineas O'Connell, I believe that's how you say it, all have 5 nominations each. Some of the top performers include John Legend and the Jonas Brothers, Run DMC, Bonnie Raitt, Aerosmith, and others. So they are definitely trying to appeal to everyone, right? Because music is universal, and you know, those who appreciate music in general, like all genres, but then you have to appeal to people who specifically gravitate towards specific genres, and so they are doing just that. There will also be a special tribute performance honoring Nipsey Hussle, and the presenters will include the likes of Stevie Wonder, yay, Shania Twain, Common, Dua Lipa, Smokey Robinson, and many others. As always, the Grammys is always just a night, great night of music for those who love and appreciate music. Now, lastly, this is a story that you might want to chime in for Cafe Talk. You can go to the social media to do that if you so desire. But here's the big story. I know you've been hearing it. Just on the heels of or I should say, weeks away from Grammy's big night, the Recording Academy has to respond to some big problems, some big trouble. Of course, this particular scandal is not going to be swept under the rug. I know you've heard that Deborah Dugan, who was hired as the CEO of the Grammys to fix the systemic problems that had been exposed, problems of sexism, biases, and lack of representation. In the last few years, all of that came out, and so they hired this Deborah Dugan to kind of, come in and deal with those problems and fix it, right? Well, guess what? Just when she got to the task at hand, she was fired or put on leave or whatever they did. No one has the full story, although just in the last week, because we're moving so close to Grammy's big night, she has been out, spoken out, and then, of course, the Recording Academy has released statements from various representatives of the Academy on the issue. But I think that the Academy is going to have to answer, do better than they're doing. And so far they're doing the weakest thing, and that is they're painting a picture of her, calling her difficult to deal with. Some insiders said that she was referred to as a bitch, yeah, that word. And others are saying that she's doing all of this because she wants the attention and she's money hungry. And so, isn't that the typical thing that people do, particularly to women who speak out against the grain, when they go against the grain. And listen, again, they hired her to fix the problems that exist, or at least that's what she thought, and that's what many others thought. But as soon as she started to do that, they, of course, retaliated. So it's a good thing that they didn't actually come out and call her incompetent or dumb, because that's kind of how they're treating her. We shall continue to watch this and see how things continue to develop. I do think once again, the Recording Academy has some explaining to do in this particular situation. I saw Deborah Dugan's interview on Good Morning America earlier in the week, and it was difficult to watch because I saw this powerful woman with titles of CEO, and not just her position with the Recording Academy, but and other positions, years and years of experience, a leader. But I saw her kind of shrink a little bit during the interview, and I know that it's intimidating thing to go against such a huge machine like the Recording Academy, and the rich history that it has, and all those people who are connected with it. I know that it's got to be a feeling, an overwhelming feeling that she has, and it takes a lot of courage and strength, and she has it. But you could tell that there was a little intrepidation there when she was speaking. Her body language kind of showed it, and I would imagine, it's sort of like being shell shocked, I guess, by the response that she's getting from certain sectors within the Recording Academy. But I say keep your head up, stay strong, and you know, hopefully, and you could tell that she truly, truly wanted to be a part of that organization, take on that leadership role, and affect positive change. You can tell that, and you can tell that she loves the music, she loves the artists. She even said she's going to be watching the Grammys tomorrow night because of that. So hopefully things will work out in her favor. Perhaps they'll all sit down and come to some kind of happy medium, and work this thing through. She does have a lot of support from those within the organization and outside of the organization. So just remember that, Deborah Dugan, that you are being lifted up in prayer, and you know, you know, I think about the David and Goliath situation from the Bible, from Scripture. This little kid, this little scrawny kid, David, going up against the big, powerful giant. And so you'll come out on top, and I'm sure of it. So, in the mean and between time, everyone, we are going to continue to follow this and see what happens. And I don't know about you, I love music. I'm not going to let these people's issues stop me from appreciating the awards show that's going to be airing again tomorrow night, Sunday, January 26th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on CBS. I got to see some of my favorite folks here, right? All right. So I just wanted to share that, of course, to all the businesses and individuals who have things that you're trying to promote and sell and advertise. Consider me. Consider me. We're getting better and bigger here on the YouTube channel. Sure, we have a little mishap sometimes with the camera falling and other things, but we're working it all out. So consider us. We'll help you get the word out through this particular YouTube show, as well as on the social media and other means that we have here to make people aware of your product, your business, your service, your brand, your persona, whatever it is, we can do it for you. All right. All right. Just reach out to us at producer@Maryland'sCafeSociety.com, producer@Maryland'sCafeSociety.com. And again, if you want to just chime in, Cafe Talk, I said there was not one, but yeah, if you want to chime in on the payola thing, what do you think? Should people who put music out pay for play with radio? And nowadays, it's not just radio, it's, well, look at the online, Spotify, all those places, they have to pay, right? So I think that's just another way to get the music out there. And then also, if you want to chime in on this Deborah Dugan situation with the Recording Academies, the folks who put on the Grammys and run the Grammy organization, You can do so at on my social media, Marilyn's Cafe Social on Twitter, Marilyn's Cafe Society on Facebook, Marilyn's yeah, that's it. Right here on YouTube, Marilyn's Cafe Society on YouTube. All right, guys, it's been a long day. I'm gonna get up and get myself together and get this posted up for you guys. All right. Before I go, once again, I just want to plug social media. Be sure to find me on Marilyn's Cafe Social at Twitter, Facebook on Marilyn's Cafe Society, and the website, marilynscafesociety.com. You can also check out the blog on WordPress, Marilyn's Cafe Society on WordPress, and right here on YouTube, Marilyn's Cafe Society Radio on YouTube. Oh, love is. Love is. Love is a song my heart once sang. Check it out. A song my heart once sang. Okay. And remember, everyone, if you don't do anything else this week, be sure that you live, you laugh, and you love. As always, it's a pleasure and a privilege. We'll hang out again next Saturday right here on YouTube. Peace, everybody. Have a great week.